Okay,
Okay, I'd like to call the Plan Commission meeting to order on Tuesday, February 23rd, 2021 at 5:31 PM. Janelle, could you please take roll call?
Bertle,
Here.
Baker,
Here.
Shumway,
Here.
and Gretzmacher.
Here.
I don't believe Bell is here yet.
Okay, he'll probably show up momentarily.
Yep.
Comments, correspondence, and concerns from the public. We did receive an email, but that pertains to one of our public hearing issues, so we will address that at that time. Did we have any? There was nothing in the packet, correct?
No,
Okay. Is there anybody zooming in or phoning in that would like to address the Plan Commission on a non-agenda issue? Okay, I'll take that as a no.
Look at.
Approval of the agenda. I would like to amend the agenda. I would like to delete item number 8. And under item number 10, I would like to delete lighting plan, parking plan, and landscape plan. This is only a site plan.
That's on number 10.
Correct.
Okay.
With that being amended, is there a motion to approve?
I so move.
Motion by
Second.
Gretzmacher,
Second. Denise.
second by Baker. All in favor, respond with an aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Approval of the minutes as published. We have no minutes.
We have no minutes.
well, they should be in there. They were added later.
I have minutes.
I do not have minutes.
With minutes. We'll have to- Okay, so then we'll just
We
add
can
the
just
next
address it at the next meeting then.
chapter up then.
Okay,
By the way, Nate is on.
okay. All right, agenda item number 1, public hearing on Mark and Nicole's request for a conditional use permit, which will allow the construction of a second dwelling unit on the property located at 10839 North Bay Shore Drive, which has been assigned a parcel number of 181270021. Bo?
Yep, so just following from last plan commission meeting, I know there was a question about the neighboring property and what was closest to it. I did go out there. It is another guest house, not a garage, but just a guest house. So that would be the closest building next to this proposed secondary dwelling unit / detached garage. Everything meets the zoning code as far as setbacks and building size. And this is just the part of the public hearing process.
Okay. At 5:34, I will open the public hearing. I will read the letter that we received. This is from Tom Rossmeisel, 10838 North Bay Shore Drive, Sister Bay. Dear Sister Bay Plan Commission, I am writing to inform the Plan Commission that I support the conditional use permitting request at 10839 North Bay Shore Drive for a second dwelling unit and expanded driveway. My grandparents are the late Bob and Judy Burns, and my family owned this property for 80 years before selling it to the new owner. My mother, my aunt, and I continue to own a smaller cottage across the street at 10838 North Bay Shore Drive. None of us oppose this development. We are saddened that the Burns house is gone, but things change. We're excited to know that a family from Northeast Wisconsin will be building a new home to be enjoyed for generations to come. In general, we urge the commission to place thoughtful limits on development, particularly large condo projects and subdivisions. This specific proposal, however, is reasonable. It is a nearly double-sized lot and can accommodate a larger garage with upstairs dwelling unit. Thank you for your consideration. Is there anybody zooming in or calling in that would like to speak for or against this?
Yes. This is Steve Beta with Mao and Associates.
Okay,
Just a few things. I think, Bo, I did send you a revised site plan. I know last time when we had our preliminary plan commission meeting, we talked about 2 access points and things like that. We've eliminated the second access point on a revised sketch. We've also reduced the amount of pavement from 28.7 to 27.2, so about 1.5% less of pavement with that change. And then I did slide our garage 25 feet from that other dwelling because I did see that it was a structure that they did use for habitation. So, and then we made the garage slightly smaller because of that, so it would conform with all your requirements.
okay, but we do not have that in our, is that what's in our packet?
No, I just looked through my emails as well. I didn't see an updated plan, so I don't think that came into my mailbox.
I sent it like a month ago. Okay.
Yeah, I don't have anything updated.
Okay. Well,
Just, if you can just send it to me, that
yeah.
would be fine.
Well, unfortunately, we have to see the plan. So,
Well, didn't you just say the plan meets the requirements now though?
As it was presented, yes.
So,
But that's just for the building. That's not talking about the driveway. That's a separate agenda item.
right. Okay.
right, but we cannot have a conditional use hearing and documentation that is not what is going to happen, whether it meets the criteria or not.
Well, you do have a plan that meets the criteria.
Right, we can approve that one, but
Right,
if we want to change it, we're going to have another one.
Okay, understood.
Forward that document to Bo right away and he could display it on the screen.
I'm at home, so I don't think I can get it to you.
Yeah, no, we can't do that though.
And that, yeah, that would not be fair, especially
It's okay.
under conditional use.
The site plan that you have is bigger in size than the one we're gonna do, but if it meets the requirements, then we're gonna go ahead with the site plan you have.
Okay, but the driveway has nothing to do with the site plan.
Correct.
So then you want us to continue to approve this plan as presented?
Yes,
Okay,
because we're only on for the variance for the second living structure anyway. We're not on for the site plan approval. Correct?
Is it, well, the home has been approved. The actual main residence has been approved.
Understood.
This was just for the secondary dwelling unit.
Right. That's the only thing we're approving tonight anyway, so that we're fine. Correct me if I'm wrong, Bo.
That, as it's stated, that is correct.
Okay, I'm fine then with what you have.
okay.
All right.
Again, is there anybody that wants to speak for or against? Not hearing any, I will close the public hearing at 5:40. Is there any plan commission discussion?
Are we approving the plan that we are looking at in this packet, which is 10 feet from the property line, instead of what he was just talking about, which was a smaller building, 25 feet from the lot line?
Correct.
You're
We
approved.
are approving 10 feet from the property line.
Okay.
That
All right.
building, that conditional use. The only thing that, that I would say is that we approve this conditional use permit with the deed restriction that there will be no transient lodging allowed.
Right.
I just
Janelle,
want to, so there is this is what will be built. If there's any deviation from this, will it have to come back as a conditional use because it's going to be different than this?
Correct, yes. Yes, it has to go through the process over again if it's changing.
Okay. And
And Chris, you understand that?
I think he means, yeah, that's Steve, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I understand that. That's what we wanted to build anyway, but we were concerned about that being another living quarters and needing to be 25 feet away. So we looked at shrinking it, but from what you're telling me, it meets your code, so we're fine building the structure you have in front of you.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Nate, did you want to continue saying
I guess
something?
the only concern I have there is not with this actually, it's just in general, and I believe most of the other commissioners have an issue when there's a change from what is being presented to what's being built. I get what he's saying, and this, as long as this was really what's going to be built, okay.
Janelle, do you have a motion written?
That the Plan Commission grants Mark and Nicole Capomacchio's request for a conditional use permit that will allow the construction of the second dwelling unit that is delineated on the plans that were included in the meeting packets in accord with the provisions of the village's zoning code. The village administrator shall see that a formal conditional use permit is drafted and executed by all required parties ASAP, and the following conditions shall be clearly delineated on that document. And then number one, a deed restriction shall be recorded in the office of the Register of Deeds that states that no type of transient rentals will be allowed at any time on the in the second dwelling.
Okay,
Or do you want it to say on the property?
in the second dwelling is fine.
Okay.
Who would like, anybody care to make that motion?
I'll make the motion, Denise.
Motion by Baker, I'll second. Any further discussion? All in favor, respond with an aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Denise,
Item
I'm sorry, I didn't realize I was muted. I was an objection. No.
Oh, okay. Motion still carried. Okay. Discussion regarding the driveway permit application that has been submitted by Mark and Nicole as they would like to construct a second driveway on the property located at 10839 North Bay Shore Drive, which has been assigned a parcel number of 181270021. So Chris, are you saying that you are no longer proposing?
Are you talking to Steve?
Yeah, that's Steve.
Okay,
Chris is my wife. I'm sorry.
okay,
Okay.
You keep calling me Chris and I'm like wondering, no, sorry. Yeah, we're fine with not doing the second driveway. We
Okay.
talked about it last time and it's a state highway and that was gonna be a problem anyway, so.
okay. So then we will just move forward to the next agenda item then.
Really quick, Steve, just send me the updated driveway permit with the new plans so that I can review that.
Okay,
Thank you.
is that the only other item on the agenda with Cop Macho?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
thank you for your time.
Thank you.
thank you.
Agenda
Thank you.
number 3, discussion regarding a request from Dorian Colser to schedule a public hearing on his request for a conditional use permit, which will allow the construction of a second dwelling unit on the property located at 2211 Maple Drive, which has been assigned a parcel number of 1810008312811A1. Bo?
Yep, so this is another secondary dwelling unit request, which happens to come in the form of a conditional use permit. This one was presented to staff some time ago. It did not meet the 900 square feet minimum, so the property owner did make that revision, so staff.
Maximum?
Yes. Actually, no, the 900 was the minimum, I believe. No, you're right, it is the maximum. Yep, sorry, I'm just reading that wrong here. So they need to have a public hearing scheduled, so the plans are attached. If any questions, the property owner is available and so am I.
Anybody have any questions? I'll
Just
make
a
a motion.
comment. Just a
Pardon?
comment, as we have back-to-back secondary residences, I would assume that the same conditions would be put on for this secondary residence. Am I correct?
About transient,
Correct.
that would be my intention.
Well, can I have a word here? I don't know if you guys can hear me.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so I purchased the property as a foreclosure a few years back, and I remodeled it. And at the moment, it is a VRBO. I remodeled it. I put a lot of money into it. And in the back of it, there's about a 600 square foot. I don't know what that is, like a shack, which is just an eyesore. So I plan on like tearing down a long time ago. But then somebody told me, why don't you put like a little cottage back there? So the more I thought about it, and I asked the village, and they said actually you can build a secondary like dwelling. I thought, okay, I love the property. It's in town. I have cable. I have internet. If I can build a 900 square foot second dwelling, I can live in that second one myself. I know it. I have to live on the premises, so I don't plan on renting. But I do want to rent the main house as I am right now. So I want to make sure we're on the same page here, because I'm not going to rent this second one and move in the main house. I will live in the second one and keep renting the main house as is.
And that's fine, because the conditional use permit is for the second dwelling, and that is the only place that the village would have any authority to limit any kind of transient rentals. We do not have that authority to do it on the main home. So you would still be able to rent that out, and you would be able to live in the new second dwelling.
Okay, perfect. Because I don't know if I'm going to be living like year round. Maybe in the winter I'm going to go away for a little bit. So that'll be perfect for my plan. So.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we schedule a public hearing on this issue for the March Plan Commission. Motion by
Okay.
Berto,
Second,
second by Gretzmacher. Any further discussion? All those in favor respond with an aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Item number 4, discussion regarding the request from Lance and Bridget Crane for a conditional use permit, which will allow a residential condominium project to be constructed on the property located at on Little Sister Road. So in the packets, at last month's meeting, I had asked all the Plan Commission members to email me or whatever of the conditions that they were interested in seeing put on this project. And what you see in the packet is that compilation. And there's also a couple in there from the Friends of Pebble Beach. They met last week, I believe, and came up with a couple ideas as the neighboring property of the village. And this is the committee who is going to oversee what gets done there. So I guess I would like to ask Plan Commission members if they agree with the list as presented, and if there would be any conversation on any particular item or something that you don't think would be appropriate on that list. So everybody must be good with it.
it's a very complete list.
Okay,
Denise, my only comment, which I submitted to you, was when it said no transient rentals, I just put it in compliance with some of the larger luxury condominiums and put for no more than 1 month. Or
1 month a year.
Yeah, 4 consecutive weeks at a time, which would be monitored by the association.
Okay. So Bo and I met with Jim DeLears yesterday and Anaj for about an hour and a half. They wanted some clarification on this list. There were some things that they said simply they could not do. And I said, well, conditional use permit is conditions that the village puts on it. So I will let them address the entire plan commission with their questions or concerns at this time. So I will turn it over to either one of them.
Anaj, would you like to start out or would you like me to start walking down the list?
Can we see you?
Yeah, I got, hang on here 1 second.
Have the kids there?
No. I'm not driving. Okay.
There he is. Oh, there he goes.
Some reason you keep jumping back out. There we go. Okay. All right. Anaja, I'll let you start at the top, and I think similar fashion as we walked through items yesterday, obviously a little bit quicker, so I can jump in on some of my topics and you can take yours. Does that sound fair?
Yeah, I mean, overall, the concept is that, there's quite a few things here that just aren't feasible for the project. And we know that there's some things that we can work on the village with. And overall, we see that this project makes sense for this residential area because all we're doing here is taking what had been a kind of use where it was highly trafficked and pretty dense and going towards something that the neighbors in the surrounding sort of residences would like. And so that's what we're moving forward with. I mean, if you guys would like, we can go through each condition, but our thought was that we'd be doing this, or we would prefer to do this in kind of a closed session as we work towards the development agreement.
No.
Okay, so we can go through each item. That's fine.
Okay. If you don't have an issue with an item, then let's skip it. Okay. Or if your questions were answered yesterday and you're good with that, but if you have an issue with everything, by all means, bring it up.
Okay, let me just pull up the list.
First point is density clarification, Anaj.
Yeah, so with regards to density, we had pointed out that we were following the R2 zoning, and per the R2 zoning, we were allowed up to 6 units per acre, but really at this point, we're at 2 1/4. And like I started out this discussion by saying, I mean, we're turning this into a historically pretty densely used, usage in terms of how it was used by Fred and Fuzzies with 600 patrons a day. And we're turning it into, 16 homes on the inland parcel and 2 on the shoreline. So we're reducing the amount of traffic and density already compared to what it historically has been. And on top of that, we're going to have a lot less boat traffic. So kind of the density that was proposed or shown by these single family residences that are in R1 zoning, we just kind of made the point that it's we're abiding per that R2 code, and we're also just less dense than the historical usage on the site. If you want me to just keep moving forward.
Yes, please.
The no blasting condition, I think Jim can speak better to.
Sure. So no blasting. We understand that recent sewer and water work performed in the last year did require blasting to allow us to continue a loop for sewer and water, as well as put foundations in place for the new structures, it's going to require blasting. So we would need to understand, you know, what the alternative would be to blasting. From my standpoint, I don't see that there, unfortunately, that there is not an alternative that we would need to blast.
Next is cannot use Pebble Beach in the name. I think we wanted to discuss that further with Lance, but I think that's something, you know, we're willing to work with you guys on. Looping the sewer and water, we explained that this would just be something that would come in the civil plans. So it's a matter of working on these civil and structural drawings. I see there's established the 24 square foot sign. I think same kind of with the Pebble Beach name. We understand, we're willing to work with you guys on that. The tree cutting plan for Shoreland, again, this is similar to the looping sewer and water. It's something that would come up as we progress further through our plans. No transient rentals. We talked a little bit about that in the sense that we weren't certain what we can actually control and what we can enforce just against the state statutes. So we'd like to work with our council on that. Lighting must not change the character of the area that has been dark. That's not our intent. Our intent is simply to make sure that life safety is kind of in the forefront, and we're just making it a safe environment within the inland parcel as well as the shore parcel.
I think ultimately we agreed that we would submit a lighting plan for review.
Mm-hmm. Common area on shores for owners shall be designated at a minimum 20 feet wide. We're not, you know, that's something that we've talked to council on, and that just, it doesn't make sense for this parcel. It doesn't make sense for this development. We can struggle with you guys back up on this, but when we've talked to council, that requirement doesn't make sense for the development. We talked about this ADA accessible path. So it seems to us what's being required is to make the existing path that's owned by the land trust and owned by the public. You'd like us to improve that. So it's really kind of, you know, as I'm seeing through a lot of these conditions, there's quite a few public sort of infrastructure improvements that are being put onto a private development. And really it's not for the exclusive use of this private development, this path.
Of course, yeah.
I mean, we're open to, you know, a public-private partnership or some sort of, but I think it doesn't make sense for the private project to take on all these public infrastructure improvements. The next one is more architectural variety on units. We presented a couple different variations of the units prior, and I think as we go through the civil, structural, and design plans, you know, we'll be able to show distinctions between the designs through that. Next is no fence may be no fence may be erected. When we talked to Bo and Denise about this, we just said, hey, we'd like to be able to do something that's aesthetically pleasing and something, you know, not that it's planned out already, but if it's, Jim, what did you call it? A rail?
Split rail.
Split rail, yeah. You know, as just something aesthetically pleasing for the development.
It would be more of a landscape architectural feature than it would for some sort of sense of privacy.
Mm-hmm. After construction of all units, the road must be widened and reconstructed for the portion of the property that abuts Little Sister Road. As we talked with Bo and Denise, this is again a road that historically you've had a lot more traffic and density on, but as we're lowering density, we're being required to do a public infrastructure improvement for a private development. And as we look at that road, we saw that really it's when you get past this portion is when you see the deterioration of the, for a road that's much more deteriorated when you go past our proposed development. So that just didn't make sense to us for carrying the cost of that. And honestly, we also can't make it feasible as part of this project. The next is grandma's cottage must be maintained on the outside of as a historical home. At the moment, our intent is really not to do anything with grandma's cottage. And I think it's just per the plans, it's just, or a site plan, it's just staying there at the moment. Bathrooms shall be available to all patrons of Pebble Beach. I think this would be a problematic for the condo association because now they're again paying for a public infrastructure and maintaining it for use by the public. So for a private project to do that is going to be very difficult. Assist with the parking lot for Pebble Beach by grading, adding gravel and boulders. Similar to my comments before about public improvements that are being put onto a private development. We also just, it's not feasible within our project. I think, and in speaking with Bo and Denise, I think more of maybe the intent of that line as we understood it was, is there a way where there might be cost savings to the village? Is there something that we can participate to help with, if our subcontractors there? I couldn't answer that at the moment, or I don't think we could, because we need further structural and civil to understand what has to be done within our site. How can you guarantee completion of the project? What collateral will you give the village? And I want to kind of group this together with the minimum assessed value will be put into place to encourage completion by a designated date. I think both of those, generally in my experience, I've seen those types of conditions or requirements put onto projects where a TIF is being given or a grant is being given to the development. It doesn't really make sense with regards to this private development, but there really is no public financing going on. Work with the Historical Society to possibly move cottages, barn, dining room, if that cannot be achieved. I want to put this together. I think there's the 2 bullet points, or the one below, it's supposed to go with this one of, is it possible to sell or move others instead of being torn down? We explained to Bo and Denise that we're working as much as we can on, resalvaging these or donating them to a not-for-profit. And we're doing the best that we can to make sure that it just doesn't go into a landfill. That's not the intent. And I know Jim has more experience with this, that the hardest thing about some of this is being able to move it out from that road, out from that city road.
That's correct. We have different things like fiber optics that can play an issue. The bottom line is at this point, we'd like to at least see the materials repurposed, but we're working on several different avenues, and we can't make any guarantees yet at this point.
The next point is, what is the total floor area on all floors plus building, parking, driveways? So we know that we owe a calculation that we couldn't get it to you this quickly as we just saw these conditions yesterday, but we can definitely get that to you. And I think the intent here was to understand how much green space there is in comparison to the developed land. And we did provide that in our last presentation to show kind of the amount of green space, but we're happy to detail that more. And I think the last point is no golf carts or ATVs. We said to Bo and Denise, I don't think any of us want ATVs going crazy on this residential area. As for the golf carts, as I understand it, the village already has, I guess, laws saying, no golf carts can be driven on the public roads. I just don't know how we can enforce that within the development itself. And, I think enforcement is kind of our biggest worry with that one, our concern. Again, I would just want to reiterate, we want to work with the village on things that we can work on. And we really do like this project and know that the neighbors, at least from the public hearing that we had a month ago, that the neighbors like this project as well, because we're putting it back into a residential neighborhood and making it a lot dense and less traffic than it was. Jim, did you have anything else to add?
No, I think that sums it up, Anaj. I think we had good discussion with both Bo and Denise. Spent an hour and a half discussing it, and just as you said, we'd like to continue further discussions with the village. The project is still low density in our opinion, so we still have a budget, and we can only, there's a lot of restraints to the budget, so we can only afford so much.
Okay, couple comments I'm going to make. You referenced a couple of things that you did not know how you would be able to enforce within the development, one being transient rentals. Well, as you just heard from the other public hearing tonight on a second dwelling unit, they have to abide by that. It's a deed restriction. It's as simple as that. No golf carts and ATVs also can be enforced within the development because it's part of the condo docs. As with any condominium declaration, you can put all kinds of things in there that people can and cannot do. Pertaining to the ADA path, when you first presented to us, you wanted to use the easement and pave it to have private access for your homeowners down to Pebble Beach. But now, because if you were going to do that, it still would be public because it's on an easement. So everybody would have the right to use it. So to say that you are doing public infrastructure, you presented on doing something anyway. We're just asking that you step that up and make it ADA accessible. I think that we could, I'm okay with taking off the fence as a restriction, as long as we define kind of where the property boundary would be, and it's not a privacy fence. If it's a split rail fence or something of that nature, that is just more, part of landscaping, I personally would be okay with that. And that's something that, we would put into the development agreement. Again, you talked about the condition of the road being reconstructed. Yes, it stated on the list that widened and reconstructed or resurfaced or whatever. We may not be able to widen it, but it certainly could be repaved. And as I brought up yesterday in this meeting, was that after you have how many semis come in, building all of these homes, cement trucks, everything else like that, the road will get worse. And so I think it's appropriate, even though it's not in great condition right now, that, we work on that. And if it can't be widened, it can't be widened, but that doesn't mean that it cannot be repaved after all the beating from all of those vehicles or trucks are on it. You stated that the bathrooms would be problematic for the development. Lance Crane stated that he would like to keep them for the patrons or for the homeowners in the development. And what the Plan Commission is proposing is that because it's not that far off of the lot line, that everybody could utilize them. And if you would do a CSM and give it to the village would maintain and supply the bathrooms for everybody's use. So we're not asking you to do that. If you want to, notch out a portion of around the bathrooms, the village would take ownership of it, and they're already there and everybody can use a bathroom. So I don't think anybody's expecting you to supply things that would be used there and maintain them if you CSM'd it to the village. Minimum assessed value. Yes, that has been used a lot in the TIF district, but it's also a way to make sure that the Cranes do the entire project that's being presented, instead of just building the home that they want on the water and then just saying, we'll let everything else go. So that's a guarantee to the village. Just for the Plan Commission's information, there are quite a few local people who are interested in any and all of the buildings on moving them themselves, whether we would do something fun at like an auction and maybe give that money to the Historical Society or the Friends of Pebble Beach to do some things with. So if there's interested people already hearing about this, I'm sure that they would pay the expense of moving the buildings. And we can figure that out. I know that you have talked about that you were following R2 zoning regulations pertaining to density, and that is correct. But we heard testimony from, I think, 3 different neighbors. Then they felt that the density was too high, and some Plan Commission members also felt that. So I know you were following R2 and you're way below that, but we still have a density issue. I think you've made a valid point on blasting, that there was recent sewer and water work. I think we would have to figure out where all of that blasting is, and just so the 2 of you are aware, there is, it would be in the development agreement, it's in the zoning code, that you must notify all the neighbors within X amount of a radius of so many feet. Their homes must be televised before the blasting, and then they have to be televised after the blasting to make sure that no damage was done from your project, and then you are liable, or somebody is liable for that damage. So I think we can probably work something out that way. And you said the 20-foot wide access is just not feasible. I don't think the Plan Commission sees it that way. I think we view that all of your homeowners get to walk down a path that's on an easement down to Pebble Beach, but to have absolutely no access to the waterfront that is owned by the Cranes. And from my understanding, this has been implemented in other real estate transactions to give people access. So I don't feel that it's a huge ask. So I think that's all that I have for right now. I guess I'd like to hear from other Plan Commission members on what they feel, because basically what's being stated is that they don't like any of the conditions and don't want to do any of them. The
We
sign,
covered every-
pardon?
Go ahead, Mary Kay.
I didn't talk, Marge, but
Oh,
would you
but I
like me
heard
to?
somebody.
But would you like me to?
Of course.
Denise, I have to agree with your summarization at the end. A conditional use, going into a conditional use process, there are conditions, and this was a list of nothing that was, terribly unusual from several other developments that have been approved over the last decade. But every single one of them was difficult or not to be done. And I think you really did a good job of cutting through. The one thing that I would like to not hear again, not once, is the comparison to Fred and Fuzzies, because I feel that the Cranes walked into this knowing exactly what they were buying and that they had an uphill battle. So this is entirely different. That ship has sailed, per se. I don't want to hear any more comparisons to what used to be. This is planning for the future, and we have to do it in a diligent manner that makes sense for the surrounding community and the health, safety, and welfare of the village. My other notes basically reiterated what you stated. Sunset clause are common with other developments. End dates have been given on multiple occasions. They did give concession into putting things into, if we get as far as a development agreement, as example, the lighting plan, that kind of thing. But these were all brought up multiple times by many people doing a lot of discussion on this. And that would just be my 2 cents. I feel that you answered everything else very succinctly. Thank you.
Thank you.
I agree, Mary Kay. I agree, Mary Kay. And I certainly agree with you about the business of comparison to Fred and Fuzzies. That's gone. This is the project we're dealing with, and this is a project we should be focusing on. And thanks, Denise. You covered every point I had made a note on.
Scott?
I'm following along with both Mary Kay and Marge. Everything on that list looks good.
Nate, do you have anything to share?
Something I heard was, and I do not have the extensive historical knowledge that other commissioners have, but I believe there was some mention of returning this to a residential neighborhood. I'm virtually positive I heard that, and I just want to point out that that's a completely inaccurate statement, because my understanding is it's never been a residential neighborhood. That the resort was there before there was other residential uses. I think
That's
it's
correct.
important to point that out, unless I'm incorrect.
You are correct, Nate.
Yep.
I think that's why there's a business zoning there, is because the business was there when the zoning took place, if I remember rightly.
Yep, it was grandfathered.
Yep, zoning didn't enter the village, I think, until 1972 or 1974, I believe. And as we know, Little Sister Resort's been there for 100 years. So with hearing the objections and from hearing from the Plan Commission, I would make a motion that we approve the conditions list as presented, deleting no fence, deleting no blasting, and
Perhaps, would we want to say no privacy fence? Because it sounds like that's still what we're,
Right.
okay, no privacy fence. Okay. All right.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we would remove the no blasting and we would adjust the wording to the density to have 20,000 square foot lots. And that is still under a lot of the average of the surrounding.
Yeah.
So, and the floor area ratio, that can be removed also because that's just something as part of the zoning code that we will have to get that calculation. So I will make that motion. Does everybody?
I second.
Okay, motion by Berto, second by Gretzmacher. Does anybody need me to read it back to them? Okay, all those in favor respond with an aye.
Aye.
Denise, can I read it back so that I'm sure it's correct?
Sure.
Okay, a motion was made by Bertle, seconded by Gretzmacher, that all the conditions that are delineated on the list that was included in the meeting packets shall be adhered to in a conditional use permit for the property located at those addresses, on the condition that the no blasting condition, the floor area ratio condition, and shall be deleted, and the density requirements shall be amended so that they reflect that all lots shall be 20,000 square feet in size. Or is it 20 all homes?
20,000, no, not the homes, no,
Lots.
lots.
And
And
the.
and then that we add privacy to
Okay,
no fence.
okay.
Okay. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor respond with an aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. I'm sure that is not the way you anticipated this going, Anaj and Jim. I'm sure you will talk to Bo, and we'll just talk, I guess, at some later date. So we're going to move on.
there's one more thing I might want to just throw out there, and that's that, as we've heard so many times since I've been on the Plan Commission does not concern itself with finances. So I would encourage you guys to think about that when you come back to us. Because I heard that referenced a couple times.
Yes.
And I did bring that up yesterday in our meeting and saying Plan Commission does not care how profitable this project is.
That's not us.
No, part of
Okay.
your motion, Denise, also is that you grant the conditional use permit, right? On the condition that,
Yes.
okay.
Item number 5, discussion regarding the zoning administrator's decision to deny the zoning permit application that was submitted by Donald and Trudy Cox, who would like to construct a home on the property that has been assigned parcel number 181260001L1, as the lot is only 15,400 square feet in size. So we talked a little bit about this last month. We did talk about Act 67. We did get that information that took away the power from the village of denying building on this lot.
Denise, you're absolutely incorrect. If zoning in the village was established in the 1970s, as you said on the last agenda item, this subdivision was created in the 1990s. There was already zoning in place. Sub 1E under substandard lots defines that a substandard lot is created prior to any zoning. So this was known as a substandard lot because Mr. Horbinski gave it as a substandard lot. Act 67 doesn't make it a buildable lot.
Well, there's a little bit of truth to it, but there's some clarification that needs to be made. Act 67 says that if a substandard lot had no development on it, that the village can't be prevented from future building as long as they adhere to the current zoning code. Now, if you look at the map that was attached to this, you look at that subdivision, the property that we're discussing right now does not fall into that subdivision.
It's outlot number 1 of the subdivision of Orchard Highlands.
Correct. It is a part of the outlot that has been CSM'd.
I don't think that Act 67 should ever have been brought up in regards to this. It doesn't fit.
From my conversation with legal counsel, it does.
Sorry, go ahead.
Did you talk to Randy, Bo?
I talked to Randy as well, and he agreed with my discussion with him in regards to Act 67 as well, is that this is a substandard lot that had no previous building on it. So therefore, the village is a little bit between a rock and a hard place as far as allowing development to continue on there as long as it meets our current zoning code from a setback and building perspective. The other thing, sorry, my phone's ringing there. The deed restriction that was included in the packet also has been shared with the property owner, and the property owner has to understand that he would be liable for any legal discussion or ramifications moving forward, and he was comfortable with still moving forward on that.
That has nothing to do with anything. We've got one legal opinion in regards to the statute. I mean, having a subdivision sue in regards to 66.1015 sub 1 sub E, it defines a substandard lot, and that definition does not meet this lot.
Well, let's put a pin in that momentarily. Is it my understanding on page 24 that this is a preliminary certified survey map? And so somebody did, it says the existing property line, and then there's another line. Another dark line behind it by the shed. Well, it's a little bit on an angle, and I don't know why. And what I was going to suggest, that if the Plan Commission is going to consider this, that they straighten that line, they add more square feet to lot number 2 on here and come back. And
more square feet to make it 20,000 square feet in compliance with the zoning code?
I don't know if they'll get to, I don't know.
I won't be
to 20,000 square feet. So, and then in the meantime, if we request that and we table it until next month, and we will have legal counsel write an opinion and forward that to all Plan Commission members.
So I just want to clarify, Denise, are you asking that the property owner present a CSM, a formal CSM at the next meeting?
No, I'm just saying, if they make that line straight, how much more does it add to that piece of property? Why is it on an angle? That makes no sense to me.
I could speak to that if I could. This is Don Cox, by the way. Nice to see all you guys. The reason it was done is that's where the line, it starts to the south at the stake for where the property line is for the property just to the south. So we were using it right off of that stake, but I wanted to get it just above 18,000 feet to make an effort to get it a little bit bigger than it was, to make it a buildable, a more buildable lot. So they took it on an angle to get it over 18,000 feet, so that we were making an effort to make make it a bigger lot. That's really the only reason it's on an angle. If we straightened it up, it might add a little bit more, but we certainly won't be able to get to 20,000 square feet.
I realize that.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's simply why it's on an angle.
So I would make a motion that we request the Coxes to straighten out that line, add some more square footage to the lot, and get a legal opinion that is shared with the entire Plan Commission, and we'll readdress this at the March meeting. Motion by Berto,
Second.
second by Gretzmacher. Any further discussion? All those in favor respond with an aye.
I,
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 6, continued discussion regarding the preliminary plans for redevelopment of the property located at 2399 Maple Drive that were submitted by Al Goki, as he would like to construct a hotel motel condominium development on that property. Oh,
Just some quick revisions since the last time you guys have seen this preliminary plan. We did remove the spa and any mixed-use development, so this is strictly a hotel motel condominium at this time. There is a lobby on the first floor, as well as a lounge area on the third floor that's accessible to all patrons of the hotel motel condominium.
on the third floor, you don't mean the third floor, you mean the roof.
No, that was eliminated.
Yep, the roof was eliminated. It's on the third floor now.
Okay,
And so the other thing I was going to add is the plan also depicts 25 spaces with 2 additional temporary spaces. There are 16 rooms total, and all of the information is in the packet.
and all of these are 1-bedroom units?
They are, yep.
Do you plan on having a regular front desk person, an on-site manager there?
We do. So where the lobby is going to be, we're thinking about maybe like a lobby lounge. There would be somebody on site from 9 to 10 to cover the lobby lounge, any minor situations that could come up. So there would be somebody on site for 9 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Okay. Because that would be a stipulation that I would request in the development agreement. Okay.
Al, would there be somebody there on call for those other hours?
So all the rooms will be managed by a management company that will, run the hotel, the bookings, the cleaning, the room taxes, things like that. So they would always be accessible. And then we also would be accessible. And also we're going to have, quite a few cameras on site too, but that person that would be there from 9 to 10 would take care of that. And then afterwards, the management company would take it from there.
Okay. Nothing
Well,
worse than a plugged toilet at 2 in the morning.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I guess it would be similar to kind of the situation that, Shoreview and Marine View has with, management companies watching over their units, and also the homeowners too would have, would be able to take calls to manage anything that would come up too. So
Who are these management companies, Al?
So the management company that I've been talking to is Mike Williams. He does quite a few units at Marina View and Shoreview. And so he would be doing that. I was also going to talk to Chad too about some of these units. These units are going to be owned individually. So some of those owners would be in charge of hiring their own management company. But then we would also have, because it's an HOA, like Bay Management would also be involved because there's going to be an HOA associated with it.
Okay, I would moving forward, now that I have clarification on that, I would, if this proceeds forward, I would also ask in the development agreement that there is one management company for all. There's one person to contact. I think it's cleaner. We don't, with 16 rooms, we don't need to be hearing something from, 3, 4, 5 different management companies. That should all be run by one. Owners may or may not like that, but I think that that's the way it should be run.
So the HOA would have a management company, that would be one single company that would do that. As far as the owners, they usually would hire their own. I'm not sure how you would manage that. I'm not sure. I don't know how you do that.
Okay, so you're saying the HOA would have a management company, but that individual owners could have their own rentals?
Yeah, exactly. The owners can have their own rentals. Some owners might do it themselves and others might hire a management company to do it. But the HOA, because there's going to be an HOA fee every month, they would have Bay Management, more than likely is going to do it. They would have them to also contact to rectify some situations that would come up.
I think what Al is saying is that the owners could possibly market their own rooms, but then once they're marketed, they'd run through the management company.
Okay, that's okay.
Exactly.
That's where I wasn't piecing something together and
Sorry. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good. So re-looking at the plan, and you have 40, I didn't double check your calculations. I'm taking your word for it at this point in time. You have 47% impervious surface. And there's a 20% open space in this zoning district, the B2.
Right.
But it's all behind the building. I mean, you are a sea of asphalt with a driveway, a parking lot, a building. So I'm very concerned about what kind of landscaping plan you will come up with to try to soften some of that, because you don't have a lot of room to work with.
I could talk to that a little bit. We have a little bit of space between the parking lot and the driveway coming up, but we have a pretty large planter in front of the first floor decks that we plan on planting all the way across. And what we're thinking of doing as far as elevation of everything, we're going to put the first floor of the hotel at a similar elevation to what's there in grade now. And then we're going to put a retaining wall between the parking lot and the hotel decks, similar to what Sister Bay Yacht Club did on the back buildings. So the building is elevated from the parking lot, and then so in between the retaining wall and the decks, we would have a planter all the way across the whole front, and pretty substantial width, depending on how far we push the building back. We're trying not to push the building back any farther than we have to, but that would definitely soften it. And then we do have some space on the south side of the building. We could definitely plant trees but yeah, it's just.
I mean, I'm just telling you, I'm very concerned about it. So if we keep moving forward, I want to see a lot of green. And I understand that, you're going to put it, in front of the decks and in front of the one side of the parking lot. That's not the area I'm really all concerned about.
Okay.
So I understand it's going to make the building look better, having all of that, but I'm more concerned about the vegetation that's currently there, whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether it should be replaced, how much more green we can bring to the front of the parking lot and the driveway, just so going in.
Well, not only that, in between the driveway and the parking lot, there's going to be a space there where the elevation is going to come up 4 or 5 feet. There might be an area there, Steve, where we could put some landscaping to kind of buffer.
Yeah, we have some room there. Again, it depends on how far back we push the building. We can make those areas between the parking and the driveway wider. Same thing between the parking lot and the building. So yeah, we can definitely.
We don't have to get into the weeds about it tonight.
That would be our next level of development, obviously.
Yes, just so you know where I'm going.
So Denise, to clarify, are you saying, based on also what Mr. Thomas just said, that this building and the parking lot and the driveway can be pushed back?
I didn't say that.
I guess I'm asking for clarification because that was mentioned by you and it was mentioned by Mr. Thomas. Can this be pushed back to allow more green space? Because I know Mr. Quinn on the other side of town had to rearrange his site plan 4 or 5 different times.
Steve or Al, do you want to answer that?
Structurally, yeah, we can push it up the hill farther. I think our setback on the backside, we don't want to go any farther than we have to, just as a economical reason, but yeah, I mean, and we could also eliminate a parking space or 2 along the drive to, create a space for trees.
Well,
so
also,
I think for us to do is to propose something and then you can look at it.
Okay.
Also for blasting, Steve, I don't know how much more you want to push it back, but right now it doesn't look like there's going to be a lot of blasting the way the elevation is. It's more or less scraping of the bluff. So I don't know if we set that back further, if that would come into play.
Exactly, that gets more difficult to build a building.
Right. That was my next question. The way you have it cited currently, do you anticipate blasting? Currently, you don't, without having, civil engineers look at it,
Yeah,
correct?
Soil tests yet.
So I would be much more in favor of keeping it in an area where you do not have to blast into that bluff. I just cannot fathom that. I hate blasting. I always have. I realize sometimes it's very necessary for utilities and public infrastructure. But yeah, so I'd be willing to deal with a little bit more of a sea of asphalt if we don't have to blast into the bluff.
Yeah.
And we took that, when we redid stuff with the lobby lounge area, because that's lowered to the driveway, that was one of the reasons too, was try to help that situation out. I don't want to blast either, especially with, Shoreview, there was a little bit of blasting and there wasn't problems, but I know there can be. So we've been looking at that the whole time to try to eliminate that as much as possible. And that's where Steve kind of came up with this idea of lowering the lobby lounge area a little bit.
Yeah,
to
by
help.
lowering the lobby, we were able to lower the parking lot. So it wasn't up so high above Maple Drive.
Okay.
And then flatten the parking lot for easier, maneuvering, walking and so forth. So it's not so steep.
It went from 11 feet down to what, 5? Or
Well, yeah, it did 2 things. The driveway up to the parking lot was reduced by at least 3 or 4 feet. And then pretty much it went from a rise from the north end of the parking lot to the south of like about 5 feet to only like 2 or 3 feet. So basically the whole building is on grade, on the existing grade at the front of the building. And then we just dropped the lobby down so we can make a more usable parking lot and also lower the parking lot into
Okay.
So.
And you do remember me talking last time we met about that something will have to be done with the entrance to your driveway and kind of that intersection of, you know, Mill and your driveway and the disaster that is.
Yeah, you know, eventually I might purchase the property next to mine. I'm not sure. I mean, that's where the potential spa would go, but I know that the village plans to someday do something with that road, so that's gonna have to come into play with the elevation of the driveway parking lot too, just to make that whole area fit better. And I think we were just talking about that the other day, if we have to raise that up a little bit to accommodate, because I'm thinking on Maple and Mill, that's all gonna have to be raised up because of flooding and other stuff. So we'll have to take some of that in for granted for sure.
Okay, just as long as you keep that in mind and maybe can address, you know,
Right.
something.
Yeah, the property line there's a little funky as far as how it all, because the neighbor's property sort of hangs over Maple Drive right away.
Yes.
So
Yep.
it's grandfathered, so unless somebody actually, if you buy it and tear it down, then you can redo it the way you need to, but. So yeah, at some point in the future too, we'd want to talk to the engineers on if they have any preliminary elevation of Maple Drive at the end of our driveway, so we know eventually how we're going to connect sewer and water and storm sewer.
Yep, that'll be conversations between you guys, Bo and Robert E. Lee.
Right.
Okay. Plan Commission have any other questions for Al and Steve? Or any other concerns that they see?
I have nothing.
I think that they answered the question succinctly. I mean, I brought up the overhead maps again, and you're just below Sister Bluff Estates. So trying to move it back to allow for a more aesthetically pleasing experience might prove disastrous. So
Right, right.
The last thing we want to do is to block any of their view in the back. I think right now we're below almost 30, 40 feet, so we're good, but that's all taken into consideration too. We don't want to, you know, disturb their views at all.
Well, right, and damage, you know, by you blasting that you're, you know, responsible for just makes everything more expensive.
you're
Right.
just in front of the first three buildings, so they would just have a heavily wooded view anyway, which I'm sure they enjoy. So thank you for having some consideration for that.
Right.
Okay, is that all you guys need? Good enough?
I think so. So I guess what's the next step?
Janelle, are we looking at preliminary, having a motion for preliminary approval?
Yeah,
Okay, I'll make that motion. Motion by Berto.
and then
Second.
you want them to come back.
Yep, so we'll need,
Second by Bell. Hang on a second.
Yep.
All those in favor respond with an aye.
I
Opposed?
Yep,
Carried. Go ahead, Janelle.
Do you want them to come back at a specific time or just when they're ready?
When they're ready.
Okay.
We should be ready by the next meeting, I think. Is that right, Steve? We were just talking about that today.
We'll have to decide that.
Okay.
Could easily be ready by then, yes.
Well,
Okay.
just
Talk
talk to Bo. I'm sorry, talk to Bo and confirm the deadline that if you want to be on the March agenda on when you have to have your plans in. We have been having or are having problems with things getting on the agenda that should not be on the agenda because staff is not having time to review it. So if there is not enough time to review it, I had that conversation today, it's getting bumped a month
yep.
to the following month.
Denise, just so you're aware, and for Al, my deadline for that March meeting is going to be Wednesday, the 10th. I need everything submitted by the 10th.
that might be tough, but we'll see what we'll let you know, Bo.
Thank you.
Just want everybody to be on the same page so they know what they're dealing with.
Okay.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
The motion then, Denise, is that the Plan Commission grants preliminary approval of the plans for redevelopment of the property located at 2399 Maple Drive that were submitted by Al Goki, as he would like to construct a hotel motel condominium development on that property, and directs Mr. Goki to see that revised plans are provided to Bernhoft ASAP.
Yeah, can we just drop the ASAP?
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I hate that phrase.
Okay.
Okay, all
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you. Item number 7, discussion regarding the parking plan that has been submitted by Tanda and Carl, Kate Smith, Tim somebody, and Garrett Torgerson for Form +1 that will be located at 10339 State Highway 57. Oh,
Yep, so this is just following from last plan commission, or a couple of plan commission meetings ago, actually, when the plans were approved for this project. It was stated that they needed to provide plan commission with a set of parking plans before they could get their permits, before they get their occupancy permits. So the parking plan was provided. It shows about 60 spaces. And the last discussion plan commission had 55 spaces would be needed for this. If you look at the plans, they show that there is gravel for some of these spaces. I did make the developer aware that we have allowed this in the past with a timeline on when it needs to be paved. They are aware of that and will follow with that.
okay. I mean, I know this is somewhat similar to the first parking plan that you presented to us. And it's all fine, and you can fit it on the property. But I would like to readdress the landscaping plan to make sure that trees, shrubbery, whatever is planted, not that we want to cover up your building, but that strategically we have some places that we all agree to shield some of this massive upfront parking.
Correct. We will abide by that for sure. We, definitely don't want to see a mass of cars. So you just give us a timeline on submittal. If that's in early spring, we'll definitely, we're kind of making, we're working on the plans right now. And we'll abide by anything that, you guys come up with.
I mean, we can make a motion to approve the parking plan if Plan Commission feels that it's appropriate under the condition that we revise the landscaping plan, and whenever you get to it, you can just present that and then we will address it at that time. I don't think we want to put a deadline on you per se, and unless somebody disagrees with me.
I would just, if we could just come back on the April meeting, Bo, if we could just keep a timeline together, that's when we'll be planting a lot of our, we're starting to plant our landscaping, so.
Okay, that's fine. And as soon as you have it done, if you have it done in March, send it to Bo.
Yeah, I will. I definitely will.
Okay. Okay. Anybody have any other questions?
No.
Janelle, do you have a motion written?
Yep. A motion was made by and seconded by that the Plan Commission approves the revised parking plan for the Form +1 1211 development that will be located at 10339 Highway 57 on the condition that a revised landscaping plan shall be presented to the Plan Commission. Then you don't want to say ASAP, at a future meeting?
Yep.
April would be good.
Okay, I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Baker. Any further discussion?
I'm glad that we're doing this, and I don't think it needs to be overly elaborate. I mean, this is correct me if I'm wrong, this is a 55 mph speed limit zone. And the next thing you see is the highway shop with a bunch of salt buildings and trucks outside anyway. So I guess, the parking just doesn't really bother me that much. I think you'll be too busy trying to figure out what it is and what's going on, I hope, but that's my only comment.
Okay. We did have the county quite a few years ago plant some more trees when they wanted to do something. We just got to wait for them to all grow in to, help shield that ugliness. I don't know if you guys have had any soil samples done or anything. I know that there were some properties in that area some time ago, and I can't remember how long ago.
We have Dan Vanderleest has already been doing it, and we're putting in a second well already. We've got all the paperwork going.
No, I wasn't finished, Tim.
Oh.
That there was, from the county shop being there, their salt has infiltrated the soil. And I forgot to bring that up the last time you were here, and I remembered it. So I don't know how that plays an effect, on what you're doing, but I just wanted to make you aware that, I don't know, 7 years ago, 10 years ago, whenever it was, that there was some issue.
Yeah, we know of the issue. Carl and Tonda know of it, and they told me that there has been an issue. And then I also own a house on Northwoods, and I've already had knowledge of the county shop and of the salt and salt issue. So we'll deal with it, how we can. So, but we've got all the professionals on it. Culligan, Dan Vanderleest, the soils guy, and Shoots Plumbing. So.
Okay. All right. Very good. Thank you. See you in a couple of months.
Thanks.
Okay, now Denise, you made that motion. I'm sorry, who seconded it?
Scott?
You did, Mary Kay?
No, Scott did.
I did.
Scott, okay, thank you.
Okay, we're skipping number 8. Are we down to
We're on number 9, Zelinski.
Yep. My screen's going crazy. Okay. All right, page 75. Item 9, discussion regarding a request from James Zelinski to schedule a public hearing on his request for a conditional use permit that will allow the creation of a residential condominium on the property located at 10592 Highway 57, which has been assigned a parcel number of 18142400002. Oh.
Yes, the property owner did approach staff some time ago with a conditional use permit request for residential condominiums on this property. Preliminary plans are attached. It is a duplex and a single family home that will be part of this condominium development. They were aware of the 30% front facade maximum, but because this is a duplex, it could be somewhat of a challenge, so that discussion may need to be had. But any other questions, there is site plans in the packet.
We can have a discussion all we want about the 30%, but they still have to meet the code. So I don't think there's any discussion to be had. They're going to have to reconfigure it. That's my opinion. I don't know how the rest of the Plan Commission feels.
I feel exactly the same way. I've been staring at this one all day long.
I think the question was, how is that calculated? Maybe Steve, you can talk to that a little bit more. And I think you're on mute, Steve. Steve, I think you're on mute. Anybody else hear him?
No, he's muted.
Okay, there I am. Sorry about that. So yeah, so we just don't understand the rule on how you measure the square footage. You know, if you think of, if you had a single story building and you had a garage in one end and you needed to make 30%, you'd have to make the building 75 feet long. So then I asked Bo, I said, well, what do we measure and what do we not measure? And what's considered the garage? If you have living space above the garage, is that still considered part of the garage, or is that a second story above the garage? And where do you draw the line? Do you measure everything that's siding, that's not the garage door? It's just not clear to us.
It's linear.
It's very difficult, just to give you my opinion, it's very difficult to meet that rule, no matter how you do it.
Difference, it's the rule.
Well, that
It's
would be
still
your
the-
problem as the architect, simply stated. It would be the linear footage of the front of the building. That is the way I have always interpreted it. That is the same conversation that we had with DeLears on the Cranes proposal, because some of their garages were exceeding that.
But it's not clear in how you measure the second floor. I mean, as an example, let's look at the single unit number 3. I don't even know if that meets it. And to me, it looks like the garage is not overpowering the elevation, but if you had a ranch and all you had was a roof above the garage, I could see how you could easily measure that. But when you start adding a second floor, where do you draw the line?
I don't think it has anything to do with the second floor. I think it's the facade, the front of the building. If the front of the building is 100 feet wide, your garage cannot be any more than 30 feet wide.
Well, what's the language of that portion? Because I think it says 30% of the facade, and really, if you're talking about square footage, you know, it should take into consideration the height as well.
Yeah.
I'm looking for it.
Not to complicate things, but you know, there has been other buildings built in recent times, duplexes and bigger, and I've seen them, and they definitely could not meet that 30% rule.
It's on page 9.
Even single family homes that have been built recently don't meet that 30% rule. So we're having a hard
I don't believe it's in the R1 code.
No, it's on page 19. It's in the R2.
Yep, I got it. Yep.
Yeah, I know it's not in the R1 code. You would think that's where the so your neighbor doesn't have to look across the street at a house with a 3-car garage and you don't see the house at all. But we know it's in there, and we're trying to come up with a way to do it. But unless you turn, you know, the garage. So then the other question is, if the garage door is on the side, are you still counting that as the garage? In our case, we can't do that because we can't enter from the side. We don't have enough room. But I've done duplexes where the garage door is not facing the street, it's facing the side. And so again, we're trying to make it attractive also. We're not trying to do anything that's ugly, obviously, but how do you do it is a question in a normal duplex.
Are you tearing down the log cabin?
The little cottage, unless I can find somebody, you know, that would like to buy it and move it, or, you know, I've thought about that because it is a cute little cottage. Yeah, we would have to remove it. It's not original to that property. It was moved, I guess.
No, it was moved there. I know.
Yeah, it's not a cottage, it's a granary, and it came from the Kessel farm across the street.
Right.
And that will be one of my conditions as we move forward, that is not torn down. If the Historical Society is not interested in it, then it be opened up to other individuals who would be willing to move it.
Fine.
And the other thing that I know this is preliminary, that we're not at the public hearing yet, but that a condition of this project would also have to add a 6-foot sidewalk and do curb and gutter.
I think we did show that up until the driveway, but we didn't think it made any sense to go to the east of the driveway on unit 3 because there's no sidewalk beyond that. But we could do it up to the property line, I guess, but it would just be a dead end sidewalk. But we did show it from the corner of 57 up to the driveway.
Okay, for some reason.
If you look at the plan, that's not.
Yeah, I cannot get out of the stupid Zoom to get back to my packet to look at the map. Bo, what's going on?
Bo, can you show that on just show it on the screen?
Give me 1 second, I can try.
Oh, I got it. Okay, what page is that on, Steve, where you show that?
It's on the site plan, the first, well.
Wait, I think in
Show the site
Page
plan in the permit application, but then if you scroll down a few more sheets.
80.
Page
Survey,
80?
Yep,
108.
page 8.
Well, it says 108, but
Yeah, the packets are different. My packet is different from theirs as far as spacing goes.
it's the last 2 drawings in the packet information.
Got it.
The sidewalk along 57 as is good, Steve, is that right?
That's existing.
Yeah, right. So
And
we're just talking-
in somewhere around the corner of Canterbury and 57. And so we would just continue that along Canterbury up to our driveway would be
Okay.
my,
Okay. That's not how we spell Canterbury.
I know.
Don't reject us for that.
I know. The other, just the general things, you know, we did, I think we're meeting all the setbacks. We're meeting we did do a calculation, a pretty detailed calculation on the square footage and counting all the square footage of both stories. And we don't think we're going to be any bigger than this. We'll probably be reducing definitely the duplex square footage a little bit. So I think we'll be able to meet that requirement. So yeah, we're really down to that 30%. How do we come up with the 30% and how do we measure it exactly?
Across the front.
Yep, across the front.
You know, it would be very helpful to have a diagram that explains.
Go from one corner to another corner.
I mean, to me, it's very clear, 30% of the
It's
front
not to me.
facade.
I guess I'm thinking as an architect, it's not to me. So what is considered the garage? Is it the garage door plus the 2 wing walls on each side of the garage? Is that what
Yep.
you're?
Yep, you take the garage as if you were building it, you know, not attached. What is that? How wide is it?
Okay, well, in the case of unit 1, the wall continues all the way to the front door. So where does the garage stop and the house begins? Because you can't tell by looking at it from the street.
No, but you can use the floor plan or the site plan.
Sure.
Okay, well, I guess I'm just really trying to understand your goal.
Yeah, I mean,
What is the goal of this rule?
if you look at the site plan, you can measure the length of the garage pretty easily from that.
But my point is that if you had a straight house with a garage on one end and the wall is continuous all the way across, how do you really, I mean, isn't your goal here, I'm not trying to argue, but isn't your goal here to make it look better? So
We are not, the
not
goal
knowing
is
behind
to
that
not,
wall doesn't matter.
the goal is to not have garage doors take up too much percentage of the front. You are going to be very visible from the highway. This is on top of it, it's a conditional use permit. This was implemented, I believe, after Hidden Maples was developed, and we all hated the look of that subdivision.
That's right. Yeah.
And so, they needed to possibly be periodically set back, not just, the garage and, one small room, next to it with your front door, because all those garages and Hidden Maples, that's all it is garage. The entrances are usually all pushed back. The entrance is not prominent. The garage doors are prominent. And so we said after that development, we don't ever want to see this again. And if you've been around as long as Marge and I have, we remember those things.
I remember it vividly. Yes.
So why do you only have this rule in B1?
We don't. We have it in R2.
Okay. So this is just an R2 rule, basically.
Yes.
Yes.
Because again, I didn't send any pictures to Bo on other developments, but there are other developments that have much more garage than what we're showing.
But that's not the issue. The issue is your development, and that's the one we're talking about.
But I'm trying to understand the overall goal here of what is you're saying it, but I'm not believing.
Well, you can choose to believe us or not, and you can choose to present it or not, which will dictate whether or not we approve it.
That's true.
So our assumption, and that's fine, thank you for the clarification. So our assumption was, facade was meant to define, the entire front of the building. And so we measured this out and we're well within 30% if you consider the full, front of the building. Just offhand, it doesn't look like the garages are overpowering the building, does it, like you had in the previous development? If you look in the drawing, the preliminary drawing on our page 109.
I think we have to go by the calculations and not by, I'm looking at I'm not looking at anything 3D. I'm looking at a piece of paper.
Right.
And then is there a requirement, I guess, maybe Steve, you would know, as far as the minimum garage size? So, this is, I think these are what, 2 or 2.5 car garages if we went to a 1
Yeah,
car garage.
originally we started out with a 1-car garage, but since we thought we had the property to do it and we thought it would be more saleable, that we did a 2-car garage. It's a 22 foot long 2-car garage.
I think a 2-car garage is definitely more appropriate. I hate developments that have a 1-car garage. It's not functional. It's not user friendly at all for the people who end up purchasing those units.
Now, if you look next door, not that I want to bring that up, but that one from our driveway is all garage. Anyway, I don't know if we can create a duplex with 2 garages facing the same way that'll meet that rule. So,
well, your problem.
Well, so I guess that's something we'll need to work on. We're also 1 unit fewer than what the code would allow, and so because we felt that was too dense for this size plot, just under 3/4 of an acre. So I guess that's what we're asking is if we can rejigger it so that we're within the 30% part of the width, are you okay with the development?
Well, we will I will make a motion that we schedule a public hearing for next month with, if you can have new drawings to Bo by March 10th, you will be on the March agenda for a public hearing.
yeah, we'll have to review that because there's a lot. I think you expect quite a bit of information on those public hearings, don't you? Engineering and
Is this really the time
This
to
is
go
something we could talk about.
during a plan commission meeting? I mean, it seems like this something should be taken care of ahead of time. There's a lot of conversation about what's going on here. Just, I think that's a conversation with Bo outside of this, is it not?
I'm sorry, what was your point? I missed that.
I think that some of this, a lot of this should be a conversation with Bo outside of a plan commission meeting. I don't think that's the time to have this conversation. I mean,
Well, we did. We had preliminary meetings with Bo and talked about, and that's how we came up with the site plan. But at the time we discussed it, we didn't know how to calculate the 30%. And so that's really our whole question in this presentation. Because like Jim said, we did have a threeplex, but after realizing that we had to stay within the percentage of square footage, not knowing that we had to count the second floor, we parted back to just a duplex.
The green space.
So that's how we came up with this site plan.
Okay, well, I'm going to make a motion that if documentation is received by the administrator by March 10th, that this, we move forward with a public hearing at the March Plan Commission meeting.
Okay.
Motion by Berto,
I second.
second by Gretzmacher. Any further discussion? All those in favor respond with an aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 10, discussion regarding the renovations Gary Wiesa would like to make to units 3 and 4 on the property that has been assigned an address of 10678 North Bayshore Drive and a parcel number of 1810005312843B1 that will now be known as Northern Door Properties Condominium, as he would like to convert those units from office space to a hotel motel condominium and review of a related site plan.
Yeah, so back in October, staff reviewed plans for a conversion from the office space to a hotel motel condominium for this property. And it was at that time that we discussed that a hotel has to have 5 or more lockable separate rooms to meet the requirements of a hotel motel condominium. So the developers revised their plans, and that's what's in the packet, are 5 separate lockable units for a hotel motel condominium in the back of this property.
Is Gary with us tonight?
I am.
Okay. Oh, and by the way, for plan commissions, I don't know if you noticed this, but some old plans that had garages that are on page 86 that
Yeah.
should not have been in the packet.
Yes, thank you for reminding me. The clarification, that page 86 was part of the older set of plans that should not have been included. The correct one is the previous page before it without the garage on the main floor.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
What's that?
Does Gary have anything he would like to say?
Yeah, but I'm not.
Steve, we can hear you.
I'm-
Mute
Oh,
yourself.
sorry about.
I muted him.
Okay.
Okay, there we go.
I guess I'll just add anything that anybody would have questions on at this point. We feel we've got a nice pleasing design for the size building with the proud gables, the hips on the back exit doors, and appropriate, parking that meets the site plan.
The parking does not meet the site plan. You're 5 spaces short.
Could we get a clarification on that, I guess, is how you came up with that number?
Sure. When at the August meeting last year, when the Plan Commission was reviewing the condo docs, I questioned, even though we have nothing to do with the condominium docs, that in there, it was stated that unit 1 would have 4 spaces, unit 2 would have 4 spaces, unit 3 would have 2, unit 4 would have 1. Well, and that was your calculation based on whatever, and I questioned that and had a problem with that, although I cannot say anything about your condo docs. When Britt came into us back in September of 2018 for a change of use, it was determined at that meeting that for the size of buildings 1 through 4 and the square footage, that building 1 required 6, building 2, 7, building 3, 1 space, building 4, 2 spaces. And so when he wanted to do a change of use, there were 16 spaces that were required and he showed 18 spaces, so it was a non-issue. So according to, now you're removing buildings 3 and 4. So buildings 1 and 2 is a total of 13 spaces. And in this 5 unit, you have 3 2-bedrooms, which requires 4.5 spaces, and 2 1-bedrooms, which require 2 spaces. Well, you can't have 6.5 spaces, so you round up, so that's 7. So you have 6, 7, and 7, which is a total of 20. You're only showing, presenting 15, and the parking space that's drawn is only 18 feet long, and we have a requirement that they have to be 9 by 20.
You get the parking space, those were exterior spots. There's one in the garage.
Okay, 1 in the garage.
And
Okay,
then, and then we don't, I'm assuming you could park 1 in front of the garage. So it'd be 17.
Can I speak?
sure.
Because some information was passed to Bo, and that obviously wasn't passed to you, Denise.
Okay,
The coffee shop giving up parking because we don't use as much seats as we originally thought we would.
okay, so you have less tables, you have less seating?
We will, because what we're doing, essentially the tables that you've never been in the place, so you won't know, but the tables that we have downstairs are going away, and we only ever keep either our outside patio open or our inside upstairs open. They're never open at the same time. So we've reduced our seating by more than half. Like, we really only need about 12 seats.
Okay,
And there are credits that can be bought. So maybe Denise, you could speak of that, or at least it's in the code.
yes, and
I mean, I'm sure you were going to bring that up anyway, but
yes, credits can be given, but usually credits are given for new construction. I don't know that the Plan Commission has ever reduced parking for something that's already existing, and maybe somebody else on Plan Commission can correct me if I'm wrong, or I don't remember that the Plan Commission has done that in the past.
well, this project, as far as Gary's project, is new construction. Correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Just to clarify that.
But
So maybe
because it's
expand on the credits that you can purchase. It's not a matter of giving them, it's purchasing them from what the code reads.
no, you don't, no, you don't purchase them, you're granted them. There's no monetary value. But the problem with any kind of residential, including a hotel, motel, condominium, those have to be on site. There are no credits for lodging or residential.
Where in the code does it say that? Because I didn't read that in there.
I will find it.
And also maybe while you're looking, I don't think it's in the code also where you can't go back and say, we don't need this much parking.
We have 17. He's giving us more.
Bo, are you having any luck?
I'm reading through it right now.
Okay. I'm looking under parking, but maybe it's just under B1.
On page 86, which is the parking section, and it says in the B3 district, the number of residential parking spaces. Hold on. Residential uses.
No, that's not it. No, it talks about that it does not apply. So maybe it's in B1 or B3, excuse me.
Look in B3. Says on page 46, which is in the B3 district, any accessory residential use and commercial transient lodging located on the ground or non-ground level on the same property shall be allowed. The on-site parking required for the accessory residential units must be available on-site and cannot be located elsewhere through the payment of a fee as allowed under the section.
Yeah, it says it someplace else also.
Yeah.
And Bo, are you being specific? It's hard to understand necessarily when you say accessory. What are you meaning?
So that says accessory residential use. So residential units and commercial transient lodging located on a ground or non-ground is the same property, because in the downtown district, usually residences are only allowed as an accessory to a business. You're not allowed just a single family home in a downtown district.
Here we go, page 49.
Yep.
Parking spaces required. The parking spaces required for motels, hotels, all types of condominiums, accessory residential uses must be provided on site, and no fee in lieu of creating spaces will be allowed.
On page 49.
Okay, so do you want to find the other part in the zoning code that says that you can't give up parking spots?
You find it.
Excuse me?
Okay, what was that question, Britt?
Well, is there anything in the code that says that I can't give up parking at the coffee shop?
I don't know. I would have to research that, but my guess is going to be because it is, if you were willing to reduce the number of tables in the coffee shop now and change the condo docs to reflect on what buildings get how many parking spaces, that may work, except it puts the plan commission in a difficult position moving forward, that now somebody wants to buy the coffee shop next year, 5 years, 10 years, and they're only going to have, let's say, half the spaces, which were 7. Let's say you got rid of 4, now there's only 3. So now that will limit somebody for a change of use on what they want to do in that property. I'm certainly willing to, review and see if I can find anything about giving up parking. But it only puts a burden on the plan commission and somebody who will own it in the future on what they can do. So that becomes restrictive.
The village has done that in many instances, including my property across the street.
Yeah, I know you have no.
And you've discussed it many times in multiple planning commission meetings. Exactly that. And had no problem with it before.
Can you give me an example?
My property across the street.
I wasn't part of the plan commission at that time.
You were on the village board and you approved it then.
Oh, okay.
Well, I'm not wrong, am I? You were on the board and approved it.
To tell you the truth, I do not remember. I don't. I'd have to look it up. What year was that?
It would have been 2000, in between 2010 and 2014.
Okay.
I believe that Dave Lino was the plan commission chair then. And I don't believe Denise was on the village board at that point, because I think it was pretty much after you got on the village board again that you were the plan commission chair.
Yeah, I got off the
But you could-
board in no, it doesn't say. I don't know. Yeah, I just don't remember it. But anyway, that's here nor
Yeah,
there.
exactly.
Okay. Okay, I will,
You just approved another restaurant. I'm guessing it wasn't in its application for an accessory use of a place that has 8 or 10 parking spots that needs much, much more.
what,
Back in.
on Dex building?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But that it had been that, it doesn't matter if it's.
Well, that was
retail.
20 years ago. Yeah, it does. That was 20 years ago when Sister Bay was much different, when it was drink coffee.
Other plan commission members want to chime in?
I just think some of this should have been settled before it came to plan commission.
Agree.
Yes, and we tried to do that, and Denise denied us of a meeting multiple times. We wanted to come discuss it amongst all of you, and we were denied.
Well, you can't without having a public meeting. I mean, we can't all get together without it being public meeting. What I'm saying is,
that's what I'm saying, Marjorie. Like, we tried in the fall to be on the planning commission, so this could be
okay,
discussed.
I'm not talking about that. I am talking about that many of the issues you have just brought up should have been discussed between you and Bo before this came to us.
What I would not allow come to the plan commission was a different project, not this one.
Right.
For clarification.
Yes. Right.
So any direction, any suggestions, the plan commission on what way we want to move forward? Do we think Britt giving up parking spaces at the coffee shop is good, and they can adjust their condo docs, stating which each of the buildings will get? Do you think that's a bad idea? I mean, you have to share with me something here.
How would we, 5 years down the road, how would we?
Police this, yeah.
How would we keep track of that? How would we? I don't know.
How do you police it?
Yeah, exactly.
There would have to be a change of use, and they would have to come to you again.
Right, we would have a copy of, I would imagine we'd have to have a copy in the property file of what the condo docs are, or But then again, they can change the condo docs at any time without the village being aware of it. But we could, if there was a change of use at some time, if we had new condo docs in the property file, then we could request if there were any changes or alterations, get that copy and deal with the parking at that time, depending upon what its change of use would be.
Makes total sense.
I think we should direct staff to explore this as an option and see what the best way to do it is, because we may not come up with the best way right now. And it may have happened in the past. And I agree that being able to track it is going to be vital. I think if we can track it, I don't see it being a particularly big issue, because if they truly are using less parking, then that's okay. If they want to reallocate that amongst the condo association, however, but as long as we can track it, and let's make sure we're doing it in a way that we can do it again, should this ever come up, and keep the village tracking this.
We don't keep copies of condo docs, do we?
No,
Not
it's a
usually.
dangerous practice because they can change at any point in time. You can never be assured. That's why you use property management companies and accountants.
With this all the time.
I'm just going to throw this out there. I agree that more research needs to be done. I agree with Nate. Intrinsically, I have no problem with it, except I've seen what grappling with coffee shops does via Base Camp, which is across the street from Sister Bay, obviously, but I watched what the Cursabets went through getting that parking for it once parking was already gone. Once it's gone, it's gone. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
As long as Britt knows that he's giving it up, and I don't. Yeah, I mean, that should be his choice.
Okay. This is probably not what you want to hear, but we will table this and work on it over the next month. You can, staff will check into this. I will do some research on giving up parking. If Britt, you're willing to, give us a square foot drawing of the building that Skipstone is currently in and the tables that you're reducing. And so we can address that all at the same time and possibly slide that parking over. Then maybe we can get this done. I did have two other questions. Have you guys done a calculation on green space? Because everything looks like it's asphalt or concrete.
Yeah, there's currently, the footprint of the building sits on pretty much the same impervious surface that you see. The part of the two buildings that exist there right now, there's a lot of gravel all around the buildings. And so we don't think that would impact, the green space at all. If it was a concern, I know on the plan that you have, the unit on the west side, there was a patio indicated around the corner of the building. We could take that out, and I'd be more than willing to even take out, behind the building. And if we had to, we could even take out the patios, the little patios that we had addressed on the back side of the building. Those are only needed for exit doors. So it could just be a 4 by 4 foot pad. So the existing patios could go away, but there really shouldn't be any more impact to green space. And there is some greenery in front of the building.
What if buildings occupying where the other buildings were?
Okay, we just need to meet the small criteria of 10% green space. So if you're already at that, that's fine. I just didn't see a calculation. And then my other question, because there is so much asphalt in the winter, where would you be putting all the snow that's plowed, or would it be removed off site?
There's no additional asphalt. The asphalt that's there is pretty much staying.
Okay. Okay.
And I'll speak for the snow removal. Mike Ashley has been removing some of the snow this year. He's doing it this year. But like Gary said, really with the asphalt that's existing plus the buildings that are existing, impervious surface and parking lot really aren't changing. It's just readjusting kind of.
Okay. I wasn't looking at an aerial, so I didn't know how the asphalt compared. Okay.
It's a valid question.
Okay. All right. So Gary, you know that you're going to have to adjust the parking spaces to 9 by 20.
Okay.
I don't know how that's going to play with anything. I can't believe I didn't think about a parking space in the garage.
Is that specific to the code in the village, the 9 by 20? Because Bayland designed the plan for us, and I'm surprised that didn't get brought up.
Yep, that 9 by 20 is the standard for the village.
Okay. So maybe it's different in other villages, or, you know, because he does a lot of design, and
it shouldn't be an issue because that's what my parking plan went off of, Denise, was 9 by 20, and it fits. That's what you guys all approved back whenever that was. You had referred to 2018, I think.
Okay. All right. Okay, so the parking, you'll readjust that with drawings to meet code. If you can come up with square footage of green space, that would be great. For the next meeting, we'll, if Britt's willing to do that drawing and give up seating, and Plan Commission can look at that and talk about that next month, and hopefully then we can move forward.
Yep, and I'll happily do that for you and get that to you as soon as possible.
Okay. All right. And then would you be willing to change the condo docs reflecting what everything is?
100%.
Okay.
And if you in the village, and it might not be the worst idea in the world for the village to keep condo docs on file.
I mean, I just think it's,
You know,
I know that they can be changed at any time without knowledge of the village, but at least it would remind us if something came up that we could request the most current condo docs of any.
I 100% agree with you, and I think that's how it should be. And I'm glad that Scott brought that up, because as you all are reviewing over the next few months with the moratorium, I think that's a fantastic idea that you guys start looking at that as an option and keeping those on file.
Okay. All right, Britt, I don't mean to be contentious with you. It's just, I'm just trying to do the job that I was, put in a position to do.
100%. And I want to say too, that I complimented Bo, and I couldn't make it to the beginning of the meeting to compliment you as well for both of the two of you, putting that moratorium in place to review the zoning for Airbnbs. I commend both of you on that, and it's greatly appreciated.
Even though that's exactly what Gary's doing.
Well, no, I mean, what you guys did as far as putting that moratorium in place so that you guys can start reviewing stuff and reviewing your zoning rules, because they're not specific.
It's long overdue.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
So thank you for doing that.
Okay. I'm just trying to do my job, and
ultimately it should expedite the process if the zoning codes are modified to current
uses.
Current
Yes.
uses, yeah.
Correct.
Yes.
I
Okay.
would hold off saying that until you see the new codes. Hopefully that's the case.
Thanks, Nate.
We accept input.
Oh, funny. Yes, we will accept input because there will be a public hearing at the end of all of this with all of the changes. Absolutely.
Fantastic.
Okay, so we have asked for certain things. Bo and I will do certain things, and we will, I'll make a motion to table until next month. Motion by Berto.
Second.
Okay, quick discussion after
Sure.
that second. Can I get, so we're not surprised at the next month's meeting, can I get, and Gary, also get any information that you do find before the meeting?
Yes,
Like having good communication so that we're all working together?
I will make sure that's done.
Thank you.
I will share any of my information with Bo. I try to stay out of one-on-one conversations. That is
Yeah,
the
100%.
administrator's job.
Brett, I will pass along information.
Wonderful, thank you.
Okay, all those in favor respond with an aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried?
Denise,
Yep.
for the next meeting, do you want just review of the parking plan? Or do you want to have it be everything that was listed on the agenda?
It's whatever they deliver to you by March 10th.
Okay.
Okay, item number 11, discussion regarding the provisions of the draft development agreement for the Tapawat Brewing Company facility that will be constructed on parcel number 1810008312842A, which property has been assigned an address of 10440 Orchard Drive, and the action that was recently taken by the village board with respect to that issue. So the Devleys have no intention of signing this development agreement. They have talked to Bo about moving the building back to the north piece of property. They did send an email in, I believe, to Janelle, but the packets were already done. It is the new policy that if it's not in the packet, correspondence goes to the next meeting. So we will, Plan Commission will get that, that email next month. But it has been proposed to me from legal counsel. The board has already signed off on this, that we finish what we started and tie this up in a bundle and approve it. And it doesn't matter whether or not the Devleys sign it or not. And whether they sign it or not has nothing to do with their new proposal moving forward. So just so everybody understands that.
Correct. This is just finishing up the process.
So I will make that motion to.
Denise, can you clarify that a little bit more?
Sure.
You're asking us to approve something that the petitioner won't sign. Can you elaborate on that?
Denise, do you want me to just jump in quick?
Sure, Bo.
Make this short. So we were on a timeline when this project was proposed for water and sewer, and the development agreement has been worked on. We were trying to meet that deadline for a water and sewer extension. So we did propose this to the board because obviously the board meets before the Plan Commission. So we wanted the board to get preliminary approval. So that process had already started. It wasn't until after the process had started that we were informed that development would not continue. So after referring to legal counsel, they said to finish up the process formally, even though we know it's not going to go anywhere and it will just stay in the records.
Does Planning Commission get a letter from council that explains the basis on that? I just don't get it. I mean, we took off agenda item number 8 because correspondence was introduced today.
The correspondence was introduced last Friday. I received an email from a realtor saying that there was an offer on this and it should not be on the agenda. I didn't read anything. I didn't reference anything. I amended the agenda.
Correct. That email was from February 19th that Denise is referring to.
I kind of feel like I don't have enough information to be able to vote. On
Well, that's
something like
okay.
this.
You can abstain, you can vote no. That is your prerogative.
I'm still not quite sure what I would be voting on.
So
The
they're going
actual
to-
wording in the development agreement.
correct. You are just referring to the development agreement that was written and proposed and just approving that development agreement as it was stated.
But when was the last time we received a copy of the development agreement?
This is the
It's
first.
not in our packet.
It is in the packet.
It's in the packet.
This is
This is the existing development agreement?
Yes.
In order to be consistent, shouldn't we table this until next month? Since we did get correspondence, we may not have read that correspondence, but since we have it, shouldn't we do that? And then perhaps also have a closed session item, since we would be getting counsel from legal? I think that would probably make that would make me more comfortable with this.
We can do that.
I'll make a motion, we table this until next month.
Okay. Motion
I
by
second.
Bell, second by Gretzmacher. All those in favor respond with an aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Okay. And then you want a closed session, Nate?
If we're getting legal counsel, is that not appropriate?
Yep, Nate is
Okay.
correct. If we are getting a formal letter from legal counsel, then that will go in closed session.
Okay.
Okay, last page, 124. Zoning administrator's report says he has nothing to report.
Correct. I'll make it simple. I mean, everything that I've been working on in the last month is in this packet and has been presented to you. So there's no new information right now. The only thing that I did want to put in there and discuss is we need to, I know this isn't ideal, but we need to schedule some special plan commission meetings in the future when we're ready, or discuss getting the code updated as soon as possible, because now we are in that moratorium timeline.
So how does the Plan Commission feel about meeting for a couple of hours at 6 o'clock on a Monday every couple of weeks until we get a real good handle on what we're doing and how much we have to do?
Mondays work good for me.
And we
Fine
would
with
have,
me.
yeah, that would work. We would be targeting certain sections, because I feel sometimes in the past, and it's been a while since we've had a working session.
Yeah.
If we just set either a section or a time limit, because after about 1.5 hours, we stop being very effective.
Yes, I was gonna limit it to 2 hours.
So what I would like to do is I'm meeting with Randy beforehand in person. We're going to go through sections of the code. We will talk to our plan commission chair, and we will set sections that we want to talk about in the work session, so that we're limiting ourselves to that certain section in the session.
But I think, see if you disagree with me, Bo. I think where we should start is definitions, because we do not have some things defined. And then once we're able to define them, then we can incorporate them into the sections where they belong.
I would agree.
That's where I think we should start.
Yeah, I would agree.
So,
Well, but I
we
would
would give
caution
you-
that sometimes you don't understand what the definition is until you're looking where it's applied to.
But it's the starting point, Nate.
Yeah, I mean, we have a chicken and the egg sort of problem is what I'm getting at.
Yeah,
Sure.
we start there, but we will eventually have to come back to make sure the definition still fits where we're going.
Okay.
So when
All
do you
right.
want the first one to be?
Let me go grab my calendar. Because right now there's a lot of Monday meetings.
I would say we should skip the week that board meets.
Yes, definitely.
Board meets on the 16th of March.
Oh, that's a dangerous Monday, though. That's the day of daylight savings time. There's a significant statistic increase in accidents that day.
I love those
Yeah,
things,
but-
but they usually turn out to be true. Yeah.
What about Monday, the 8th, or were you already talking about something while I was gone?
Monday, so then we've got planned on the 23rd that month?
Yes.
That sounds good to me.
At 6?
Yes.
We'll do it via Zoom.
I know that's a little bit later, but maybe everybody can have dinner. Nate can get home. Do we want to have, if we do every 2 weeks, do we want to schedule it for the 22nd also, even though it's the day before the regular plan commission? Or does that make a difference to anybody?
I don't think we should. I think if we wanted to put it out on the 29th, I think that's too much plan in too short a time.
Okay, all right, the 29th. All right, then we go to April 12th, then April 26th, then I think 2 months worth will be good, and then we'll dealing with May a little bit later on. Is that fair enough?
So that it's, okay, so it's March 8th, March 29th, April 12th, and when?
April 26th.
Okay.
Hold on, don't we have,
And these working sessions are via Zoom?
Yes.
Okay.
you're saying the 26th, we don't have a plan on the 27th then?
Oh, yeah, we do.
Let's just stop at the 12th and that's still a ways out. We can,
Okay.
See where we are. At that point.
Now, I received a copy from staff of the entire zoning code where conditional use permit is either highlighted or redlined. Now, who would like, because you're going to have to read it all. Who would like a hard copy of that?
I would.
I would.
And Mary Kay would. I knew you would opt out, Nate.
I would love a PDF of that so I can read it on one of my many devices.
Janelle and I can get Nate a PDF and everyone else can get a hard copy. That's fine.
Thank
Okay.
you.
I just
Thank you.
find it easier notating on paper than
On the hard copy. Yeah.
I
Okay.
can hear what Chad would say right now. It's just because you hate trees, Denise, I know.
Can you
That
please
sounds like-
reiterate the time that we'll be meeting? I apologize. I was looking at the dates when that was mentioned.
6 o'clock.
6 to 8.
Thank you.
And we can get out of there before 8 if we find that we're at a standstill or have accomplished, whatever. We're just going to have to be focused and diligent because we do have a very specific time frame. It is a daunting task. Granted, yes, we're not redoing the entire zoning code that has taken us years to do in the past. But okay, all right, we have a plan. I'm very happy about that. Is there nothing else then? I'll make a motion to adjourn at 8 o'clock.
I second.
Second by Gretzmacher. All in favor, respond with an aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Denise,
Night.
don't go.
No,